Adam, I want to begin with you because the movie deals with some themes and subjects that you've dealt with in other projects and past films, but this has a much darker tone. Could you talk about that and what were those themes that you wanted to explore again with The Captive?
Yeah, I mean, themes of surveillance, technology. I think we're living in a world, I mean, everyone kind of knows the concept of Big Brother, but this is a world of like little brother, step brother, like there's so many different permutations of who's watching, why they're watching, what they're expecting to get out of what they're watching. So it's a world that, yes, my earlier stuff dealt with these themes, but a lot of it was pre-internet, and certainly, even though there were screens and the physical apparatus was the same, the technology was so crazily different. And so the notion of sharing, we don't really know how big this ring is. I mean, whoever is sharing in these images that Mika is making of the parents being tortured, we don't know how big that ring is, but it's pretty scary to think of how wide it might be and what the permutations might be. I think that's what we're talking about, that the older films were dealing with a pretty limited technology. It was pretty direct and quite private, and this is just at a whole different scale.
Now the floodgates are open.
Yeah, and you know, for better and worse. I mean, I think that you know, there's so many extraordinary things that result from that, but then, you know, one of the things we don't talk about is the fact that by the 90s, mid-90s, a lot of child pornography was actually under control. A lot of Interpol had done a pretty good job of being able to control the trafficking because it was physical. It was coming through mail. But then suddenly with the internet, it's actually shocking and very alarming how it has accelerated this. Live, you know, those scenes that you do, which are the most terrifying sort of concept, those group sessions where things are being done live and people are participating. It's just so dark, but it's real. It's absolutely real. And I think if the film, you know, serves to make people aware of this, then it's done part of its job as well.
Well, Scott, let me ask you, your character Jeffrey, police officer investigating this disappearance, when he meets Ryan Reynolds' character Matthew, I mean, he right away locks in on this is the guy. Can you talk about what sort of motivated him to lock in on him in that way?
Well, without giving too much away from the movie, there's a history there that Jeffrey's even working in that department for that reason. I mean, he's held captive by his own past, his own demons himself. So when this guy comes in, it reminds him of somebody from his past, and he just locks in, and the hairs on the back of his neck go up, and he's certain that this guy is not right. So that was a very interesting thing to play, you know, and it was a challenge, but it worked out very well, I felt like.
Casting Ryan Reynolds in this part that's much different than we've seen him do in the past.
Everyone says that, but I mean, I'd also seen him in these smaller movies like Buried.
I mean,
there's
a similarity.
And also there's a film that no one's seen called The Nines, which is a really great independent film, and so I always saw that range, and so it's interesting when you have a career that's based on something which is so monolithic, and you have been doing, you know, other projects, but no one sees them. And so for me, it was an easy decision, because I need someone who is empathetic. You know, given the darkness of this journey, the fact that there's suspicions cast on him, and someone who is empathetic, but also who is not completely, who had a history of which, you know, he's very aware of having been quite impulsive and quite violent. So that's part of him as well. And Ryan seemed to have all of those elements, and I think the relationship between the two of them is quite complex, and there's something that they've triggered off in each other, which reverberates for like 8 years. So it's a whole other relationship in the movie.
Great talking to both of you guys. Thank you so much. Pleasure meeting you.